Hey everybody. I know it's a little late on my part, but I'd like to do a review on this wonderful book called Destined to Die Young by Sally Hoedel. I actually know Sally personally. We are friends on Facebook and we correspond quite a bit. I met her in Memphis for the first time this past this past August for Elvis Week, and I will post a picture of me and her up so that you can see. And she's actually going to be at a festival that I'm going to at the end of this month. It's the Cherry Blossom Festival in Missouri, and there will be a lot of well-known TV stars at this festival, and that's why I'm going. And she's going to be attending and plugging her book and signing her book, so I'll get to see her again. So I'm excited about that. But this book is so good, and let me just give you a reason why I love this book so much. I've been an Elvis fan all my life since I was probably 4 or 5 years old. And all of my life, and ever since I can remember, he has always gotten a bad rep for his drug use, his overeating, his weight gain, his womanizing, just everything negative you can think of has always overshadowed everything else when it comes to Elvis. And this is a shame because Elvis is probably the biggest icon that ever lived. And if you want to argue that with me, then so be it. But that's my opinion, and it's the opinion of a lot more people than me. So he was a pioneer. He changed the face of music forever. He was a legend. He still is a legend. He draws fans from all over the world to his home every year. The 45th anniversary is coming up for Elvis Week 2022, and it's expected to be huge because the 40th anniversary, the 35th anniversary, there were like up to 50,000 people there. And in my opinion, there is no other artist that does this and has this kind of impact. That being said, Elvis always gets a bad rep, and it's very unfortunate. And we've always been told, oh yeah, Elvis the drug addict and Elvis the big fat Vegas star and all this stuff. And it's just really frustrating because there's more to him than that. And she covers that in this book. And she also covers the fact that Elvis had a lot of health problems. From birth, he had a lot of health problems. And she goes into his genetics and the different things that affected him, the different diseases he had. We have 11 systems in the body, 11 different systems, and Elvis actually had diseases in 9 of those systems in his body. And with the type of life he had and lifestyle and the way that he lived, a lot of the reasons why he was taking the drugs is so that he could survive and he could go on and do what he was doing and be Elvis. And she addresses that in this book too. And I'm not making excuses for him because I realize that he probably was addicted to drugs. But that can happen to anybody. He was a human being, and anybody, especially nowadays, if you take a lot of drugs, you're going to eventually get addicted to those drugs. And I'm not denying that. I'm not denying that he had a problem, but there were other reasons for his untimely death. And Sally does such a wonderful job of telling his story, of going back in his family tree. I'm actually going to read from here, from the book, and quote her, because the way she puts it is so incredible. So, without George Washington, we might not have had excuse me, I have to put my specs up because I can't see. Sorry about that. That's what happens when you get older. Without George Washington, we might have had a long dynasty of kings at the helm. Without Thomas Jefferson, we might not have had the words, all men are created equal, in which to root the evolution of freedom. Without Henry Ford, perhaps cars would still be only for wealthy people. Without Martin Luther King Jr., the civil rights movement of the 1960s may have been fruitless. Without Elvis Presley, all the music that came after him would not have happened when it did, or in the same way. Elvis contributed to the American fabric and changed the entire world with a cultural impact that can never be equaled. He created something new, something purely American that changed music forever across the globe. As John Lennon said, before Elvis, there was nothing. I mean, that is just awesome. Her quote there, it just says it all. Elvis transcended everything. He started everything. He just was a legend. Like, there's probably not any other legend that came after him that will not tell you that they were not influenced by Elvis in some shape or form. He was just amazing, and his contributions are overlooked, I believe, because of all of this trash that's put in books and documentaries and specials on TV all throughout the years. And she just puts light to all that, and she tells you about it. One of the factors of the reason he had so much trouble was his mom's parents, his maternal grandparents, were first cousins. And yes, I know a lot of people may frown upon that, but in the poor South in Mississippi in the 1930s during the Depression, that was very common because there was a very little circle around them, and they didn't get out, and they didn't get out of their circles. So a lot of times they would marry within their family. And I know a lot of people will laugh upon that, but that was just very common. And of course, we know nowadays that contributes to a lot of things in your gene pool. And so that's a factor. And then she also talks about him having the Alpha 1. Let me read to you about Alpha 1 so that you know a little bit about what that is. Let's see. Let me find it. Doll, which was, I think, his grandmother, most likely had a genetic disease called Alpha 1. I don't know how to pronounce this, but I'm just going to call it Alpha 1, which is a genetic condition passed from parents to children through genes. It is known from Elvis's autopsy that he was a carrier for this disorder, and therefore it can be traced within the family tree. Alpha 1, as it will be referred to going forward, is a disease that can attack the lungs, the liver, or both. Even today, if it is often misdiagnosed or takes several years and as many doctors before getting an accurate diagnosis and proper treatment. So Alpha 1, it existed in Elvis's genes and in his body, and that was one of the reasons he had so many problems. She talks about how he had colon problems from the time he was a toddler, because there are accounts of Gladys having to help him go to the bathroom when he was a toddler from different people. And she cites many different people. She's talked to many people, different people that knew Elvis and were around at that time. And it's just a well-researched and great book. And if you were an Elvis fan and you are sick of hearing the same old, oh yeah, he was a drug addict and he was fat and he died on the toilet and all that, and you want to know the truth about why he really had all the problems he had and he died young, then you have to get this book. It is so amazing. Sally is such a wonderful person, and she's such a talented writer. And it's just funny to me how there are so many different legends in rock and roll that had drug problems, and they used illegal drugs, like Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin and Jim Morrison. It's like they're all put up on a pedestal after they died, and they were big junkies and died of drug overdoses. And Elvis isn't put on a pedestal like that. And to me, that's weird, because he was like 10 times the legend and artist that they were all together. And I'm not putting any of them down. I love all of their music and they're all great, but sorry folks, Elvis was the top of the heap and he always gets such crap, you know, and it just doesn't make any sense. It's horrible. And so I'm so thankful to Sally for writing this book and doing the research and giving us the truth about why Elvis died so young and the way he did. And it's kind of sad to read it, but it's a good informative book, and you got to get it. So if you can get a hold of this book, order it, and let me know what you think about it. If you have ordered it and you have read it, tell me in the comments below what you think about this book if you've read it. So yeah, I just had to come on and do that review, and because I've been waiting for a long time to do this, and I actually told Sally that I would do this review too, and I've never gotten around to it, but I'm glad I am today. So yeah, so make sure you pick this up and read this. It's such a great book. So and thanks for watching, everybody, and thanks to all my subscribers. And if you like my videos, please feel free to subscribe. You don't have to, but it would be appreciated. And until the next video, see y'all later.